For the past few years, Yemen has been locked in a vicious circle of intractable civil wars that has killed nearly 10,000 people and pushed millions to the brink of starvation. The roots of the conflict started with the rise of the so-called Arab Spring of 2011, when an uprising forced the country's long-term authoritarian president Ali Abdullah Saleh to hand over the power to his deputy Abd Rabbu Mansour Hadi. The political transition was supposed to bring stability to Yemen, one of the Middle East's poorest nations, but things derailed. Our guest today will bring all of us on a journey between the streets of Sana'a, the capital city of Yemen. I am welcoming Ahmed Baider, Yemeni journalist and producer. Welcome to Mina on the Map. It is a great honor having you with my co-host Yara Asmar.
Ahlan, hi. Thank you so much, guys, for giving me this opportunity to talk on behalf of my country, Yemen. I just want to correct you. I'm Ahmed Baider, and it will be really great honor to talk to you today and to share with you more experience about my experience about Yemen.
Ahmed, I must say that the easiest thing that I got to experience with you is like the flexibility and in connecting with you. The first time we talked, I did not feel only your passion for your work as a journalist, producer, but also your determination in transmitting the story of Yemen to the world. Ahmed, you are an award-winning producer and nominee for several awards, including Fighting Famine, Emmy Award, and Amnesty International. What I'm curious about first, and before discussing the conflict in Yemen, what does it mean for a Yemeni producer to win an Emmy Award? Other than the professional achievement, definitely, what do you think such recognition has brought to you?
Well, to be honest with you, it was a really great experience when I won an Emmy. Actually, when I do my work in Yemen, I believe it's a duty. We really need to send the story from the country because, as you know, Yemen is a forgotten war. No one is covering it in an outside world, or they forget about it. So me being a producer working in Yemen, it's very important, and I believe that I should send the story from the ground. When I win the Emmy, when I work inside Yemen, I never ever thought that I will win a big award such as Emmy. But when I won the Emmy, I was very happy because I believe that this Emmy is not just only for Ahmed Baider, it's for the whole Yemeni people. You can't imagine how that day that Yemeni people were very happy when they heard about this. They were like, oh, this is one of the positive news that we got. So everyone was celebrating in social media. Everyone was happy. They made, they were smiling. They were congratulating me. Like they say, congratulations, Mr. Baider. That's a really big honor. But I believe the most important thing is that we care about our country and we send the truth and the story from Yemen.
Ahmed, as you were just mentioning, Yemen's conflict is highly undercovered in the media, or it is most of the time portrayed as proxy conflict, part of the ongoing power struggle between Saudi Arabia and Iran in the region. My question is very simple. What is going on now in the streets of Yemen?
Thank you so much for raising this question. As we said, Yemen is a forgotten war. Everyone reports about it and they said it's a forgotten war because they don't know what kind of war is in Yemen. Actually, when I work with some media outlets, with foreign media on the ground, when they come, they struggle to enter the country because you need to get special filming permits, you need to get several visas, you need to deal with all of the powers in my country. So also, even though when I won the Emmy, it was for the hard news coverage in the world. So Yemen's story is very difficult journalists, they can't get access easily. So it was very difficult to get it. When we talk about the street now Yemen unfortunately facing uh, a COVID-19 crisis. COVID-19 in addition to a 5 years of war now. Imagine our health infrastructure in our country is very fragile, very weak. And the same time, uh, people are they don't. Yemeni people, they don't receive salaries since 2 years now. So many crises in my country, but when COVID-19 comes, this is a crisis up to another crisis, which is people are they really fed up from this war and they need solution. And COVID-19, you can't see your enemy. It's an invisible enemy, as they say. So how Yemeni people will cope with it? Unfortunately, also we have active front lines nowadays. Imagine we have COVID-19 in my country today that we report about it, and there is an active front line. People still fight each other in different regions. There is different powers in my country who want to roll it, but we want to say to everyone in my country that we should stop fighting and we should all of us fight the one and an invisible enemy, COVID-19. It will be a really big catastrophe, I think, if we don't not care about it and if we don't take it seriously. As you saw in the world, most of the health infrastructures in the world, big system, they couldn't face it. How Yemen with a weak infrastructure can face uh, such a virus? Uh, we hope that something will be solved in this country one day soon.
Ahmed, you tackled the issue of COVID-19, but also we are interested in talking about the political transition in Yemen. How do you see the political transition happening? And what's the situation of the conflict now in the streets of Yemen?
Let's say I'm here. I'm nowadays based in Sana'a. I am in Sana'a. So
Yes.
the northern part of the country, Sana'a, and the northern region is controlled by Ansar Allah, Houthis, and the southern part of the country nowadays is controlled by STC, the Southern Transitional Council, and we have also our official government. So in Sana nowadays, it's little bit there are no bombings like before, of course, and it's little bit quieter. But we can say sometimes maybe it's the quiet before the before the storm. So you never know how it would be. But what we know now, the story is in Aden, where STC and the government are fighting in a front line there. In the same time, there is a COVID-19 with different, illnesses that civilians are affected from, such as malaria, such as mukarfis, they call it chikungunya, its medical name, and also dengue fever. So people are dying there. People needs help. People needs government. So if we talk about corona, there are something besides corona that may affect civilians and make corona crisis worse than it's supposed to be.
Ahmad, yes, continue, please.
Please continue.
Want to say, but you still see people smiling in this country, which is very weird after this long fight. People are still optimistic. People still smiling. Also, they don't have salaries. They go teachers. They teach in schools. Also, even though they don't have salaries, uh, doctors are treating people in hospitals and they don't have salaries since 2 years. You can see the warm hospitality in this country. If you go to the street, people are still smiling. People are still making jokes and laughing because every time if there is a war zone, you still have a bright side of it. How people are very nice and lovely, and how they want. Yemeni people, they don't deserve what happened to them. They deserve much more. Before, long time ago, I used to work before I became a journalist and producer. When I was in my teenage, I was a tourist guide. So I want to tell you something today that never ever in my life, when I used to be a tourist guide, I saw a tourist who came to Yemen and never come back again or send one of his family or friends. They love this country. It's very hospitable, and people are very very nice, and we really welcome everyone. So what happened in Yemen today, it's really heartbreaking.
As we say in Arabic, يخلقون من الضعف قوة. They're trying to create a strong and better future, even though there's a desperate situation happening. So, starting from this, there were hopes when the COVID-19 pandemic started, that we heard and we read in the news a will from both sides involved in the Yemeni conflict to cease fire, to stop the war. What happened? Why actually the war did not stop, despite the big and major invisible enemy that you were talking about?
Yeah, as we can hear that, if I heard your question properly, that there was a ceasefire announced by Saudi Arabia after coronavirus pandemic. That's true, and we were very happy. We thought, okay, now maybe it's a sign of peace. Maybe we will not have war anytime, and we as Yemeni people and the powers all around the world, we decided to face and fight COVID-19 together. We were very optimistic, to be honest with you, and we were. But I did reporting actually after that announcement directly in the ground with one of the American outlets. And what was funny, like when we met a doctor and we asked him this question, and we said, "Do you think that would be a ceasefire?" He says, "Ceasefire is a nice song that they can always say it in TV and news." I was like, "Wow." If you say it's a nice song, so people get used to hear ceasefire, which is okay. We need to stop this war. It's not about ceasefire. We have a very big, enemy nowadays. It's COVID-19. Big countries such as Europe or China, and I mean, they couldn't face this enemy, and we Yemeni people, our innocent Yemeni people, can face this invisible enemy. So we thought this is the right chance to stop the war, but unfortunately, this is not what happened. I believe that all of the powers in Yemen, they still keep fighting. Everyone say, they break the ceasefire, and the other people say they break the ceasefire, but we still have some bombings in some of the countries and some clashing and in different areas. And this is, let's say, it's a very disappointing, to be honest. But what can we do? We should always be optimistic, because we believe one day there will be a solution and Yemeni people will do something.
Okay. Thank you, Ahmed. One more question before giving the floor to Yara. For those between our viewers who do not know the real situation happening now in Yemen, what is the role of Iran, Saudi Arabia, Europe, the United States of America in what's going on in this war?
Well, we believe as Yemenis that the people who fight in the ground are, yes, of course, Yemenis. Yemen is killing Yemenis, but they are controlled by biggest powers from outside. This is a must, that we all believe in Yemen as civilians. Unfortunately, there are powers that they want to dominate and control all over Yemen. Some people support the northern government, and some people support the southern government and the official government, which is, we have several governments in the country with the several groups who wants to control. But civilians, what we really care is the basic needs. We need the power that can lead us. We need water. We need food. We need, so many things, like normal basic needs. We don't need to get promoted for some reason, or we need fancy houses or anything. People needs in Yemen basic needs such as food, water, let's say air. They can steal our air if we can't breathe. So unfortunately, here in Yemen, I want to highlight in your interview, as so many people, they don't know what's going on in Yemen we because of the lake coverage of foreign media in my country. It's not like the war in different areas, such as in the region, such as Syria or Iraq. We used to hear from news about it. But in Yemen, if you see, I can, I can't, I can count the stories and the reports that comes out of Yemen with my fingers. Actually, it's it's a lake coverage because people, as I mentioned before, journalists, they can't get access easily. It takes them a year to get a visa to Yemen and to get different visas and different permits. And we really suffer a lot until we bring journalists into Yemen. So I want to tell you that since 5 years in a war, we don't have electricity. So it was it's a really big problem, when if you don't have electricity inside the country. And the same time, water. We don't have water, no electricity, no water, and since now 2 years we don't have salaries. Imagine people who rely. Imagine a teacher who teach in a public school. They only rely on their salaries to live. But what can we do? No salaries, no water, no electricity. Electricity. Then it's a really big and a huge problem. And as I said, Yemeni people need basic needs. If you see, there are a lot of demonstrations, sorry, in Sana'a, in Aden, everyone needs, like tiny basic needs, but we don't have them, unfortunately, in this country. And we need to tell the international world, to the Security Council, everyone, they should push Yemenis to come back to the table. You know that I go and cover the peace talks, every peace talks. So with CFI, we have a newsroom. We built a newsroom in every peace talks just recently, and this newsroom is to cover about the Yemeni peace talks. When I was there in the peace talks, I was like seeing Yemenis talking to Yemenis, and media, they were very surprised. Oh, the two conflict parties, they shake hands and they act. How come? And is this the first? I said, this is Yemenis. We love each other, and we don't know what's going on when it comes to the political decisions. So you see, Yemeni people, we believe that we are one country. We believe that we really want a bright future. But when it comes to decisions, we don't know what happened. I really felt disappointed last time when we came back from Stockholm for the Yemeni peace talks, and we did no. I mean, there was no big decision such stopping the war or something like that.
Before talking about the situation of freedom of press, Ahmed, something that I would like to tackle with you. I'm curious about the refugees and displaced situation in Yemen. What's the situation now? Are they receiving a kind of, are they backed by the international community in a way or another?
If we talk about refugee camps, as you know, we have several front lines in the country, and people start to move and from place to place because it's very dangerous. So many people, and there are families who decided to stay in their homes because they said it's much better to die in my home than to go to a tent. In Yemen, refugees are not like other countries in the region. When the war started in Yemen, all of the Yemenis who were outside of Yemen, they were demonstrating outside. We want to come back to Yemen. Yemen is in a war. People are dying there. Why you want to come to Yemen? No, they want to come back to Yemen. So Yemeni people, they did not, they don't want to flee the country and leave and go as immigrants to anywhere in the world. The refugee camps, I can say to you, as I'm covering the war with foreign media, we always go to refugee camps, and they're in a very bad condition. I mean, they may have a small tent, and they may get some food or something from some international NGOs or that, but this is not enough. being at your home is different than to be in a tent in the middle of nowhere in a desert, or just to try to survive. So the conditions, I think it will be really big, and uh, very bad. And I think that refugees, if COVID-19 goes to IDP camps, it will be a very big catastrophe there. Because if you go to the IDP camps, you will see how people are very social. They have their lives, they have their weddings, they gather, women with women and men with men, and also kids playing. There are a lot of kids in the yard and there, but and we don't want this. I mean, as we say, COVID-19 is a very big problem. From a bomb or a rocket or a missile, you can run away and you can be safe. But from an enemy such as COVID-19, you can't hide yourself. And if there is COVID-19 in one of the IDP camps, then it would be difficult, very, very difficult.
That's a very sad story to hear about, to be honest, Ahmed. The title of our episode today is The Story of Yemen, and we're really glad that we're trying to depict the story with you. But the story cannot be told without free press. You've mentioned in most of your op-eds and interviews that there's a kind of a difficulty to cover the Yemeni conflict as a journalist and as a producer. What's the situation now of freedom of press, knowing that Yemen is one of the highest countries where there are jailed journalists? How are you able to manage, and what are the limitations? And before that, I'm also interested, what's the relationship between the press to the Houthi dominated areas and even to the Houthi troops?
The wake study of Yemen's media, a lack of trust in international and national institutions, and the prosperity for rumors to circulate in social media makes it challenging to deliver effective, health behavior to change messages. As Yemen today, if you know, Yara, that Yemen today, as for the World Press Freedom Index, it's 168. It ranks 168 of 180. So we are far, far, far away from freedom. I mean, press freedom, unfortunately. But we still, try to cover the story. We still try to find a solution to do it. And I'm keep saying, media, it really makes a difference. I was talking with a senior UN official in New York, and he was talking to me saying, "Oh, Mr. Baider, that every report comes from Yemen, it really changed the decisions in Washington." So imagine, media really can gives a really big effect in the world. And as you know, the authority, as we always say, media is the fourth authority. So media can really do change, or can share peace, and the free media that can talk. Unfortunately, most of the Yemeni local media are more more biased to one
Yes.
of the conflict. But we, as I am national coordinator of CFI, the French Development Agency, we try to build a free, give this local media a chance to meet and talk, and we support them. We say, okay, media is like that. We have to talk about the humanitarian media. So it's very important to have a free media, so you can send the truth and accurate information from the ground.
Thank you, Ahmed. We have highlighted the media situation very clearly with you. What about the whole society members? What would you tell the world about the Yemeni people's sufferings? How are they paying the price of a bigger and more complicated conflict?
Well, I want to tell the world that Yemeni people are really suffering from this war. People who lost their houses, people who lost their families, people who lost their kids. I was yesterday I was, see, watching my social media, Facebook, and that my posts. Then I saw a post that is from a woman who lost her child inside the bombing, and she went to the child's grave, and she put his new dress in that grave because she bought new clothes for Eid for him, and she lost her child from the bombing. Then she will not his clothes, so she went to his grave and she put his new clothes in the grave. It's a heartbreaking. People are dying in the country. It's not like what you heard. It's not a normal war. We need to stop this war. We need the international world to say, "Halas," as we say, finish. We don't need this massive chaos in Yemen. Yemen, they don't deserve this. Yemeni people are very kind, are very nice, and there are so many people who are crying every day. And that we saw. I interviewed once a doctor with one of the foreign media. She said to us, if children do not die from hunger, they will die from the war. Or sorry, if they don't die from the war, they will die from hunger, which is horrible. There are a lot of some malnutrition cases in Yemen, and people they couldn't get their work because, as you saw, as you know, as you may know, the affected region is the west coast of Yemen. West Coast villages they used to rely on fishing, and they can't fish anymore inside the sea because of the war, because of the navies, because of so many conditions. What they can do, they don't have their work, so they are hungry. They can feed their children. So, and also one of my interviews that really affected me when we talk to a woman and we say, if you have a sick child and you have a malnutrition kid, what you will prefer to feed the malnutrition kid or the sick child? She said, of course, I will feed the sick child. I will try to search for a medicine for him, and I will not feed the malnutrition, which is malnutrition is a big illness as well. If you are hungry, then your immunity will be very weak, and you will get so many illnesses. There are stories and stories that can go out of Yemen. We believe that there are free men and women from around the world who say, no, this is horrible. This is we don't believe in this. We have to stop the war in Yemen everywhere in the world, in America and Europe and in England, Arab region. We have to stop this war. We are in the end Yemenis, and we still have our neighbors are our neighbors, our international friends, our international friends, and that's it. And we have to stop this chaos. We need to do something actual thing in the ground, not just to say, we will stop the war and you never stop the war.
Ahmed, you talked about famine, you talked about fear, about the lack of resources, about the increased number of diseases in Yemen. Do you think that the world has turned its deaf ear to Yemen? And what do you think would be the role of in this case, the Arab League, the UN agencies, and the Security Council? What is your message to them?
Yes, that's. I think so. I think that they try to forget Yemen. My message is we have to do something. I mean, as an international world, as an Arab League, that I meet the head of Arab League in the UN General Assembly, and I said to him, "Sir, what's going on about Yemen? Why Arabs they did not make any good decision about Yemen to stop this?" He says, "Oh, Yemen war is very complex." I was like, "We have to do something. We have to, decide to do something." The first thing, Yemeni people they should comes together and the international world should give guarantees to both sides, and they should make a decision very fast. Every year goes from this war, it really affects Yemen. As UNDP they said now Yemen development is like 20 years backwards. They don't develop anymore. So it's a really big issue. And my message to the Security Council: please, 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 you have to look into Yemen, not because of me as Ahmed Baider or any civilian in the city or anyone. It's because of these innocent people who die every day, who suffers every day, because of the teachers who teach students without their salary, and their families are hungry, because of the doctors who treat patients, who treat COVID-19 patients, and they rescue their lives, and they don't have any basic needs in Yemen. As we say, also, it would be a really big issue if they I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm always mentioning COVID-19 because it's the story
Of
today in
course,
Yemen,
of
and they
course.
want to raise the awareness that if COVID-19 spreads all over Yemen, that would be a very big, if we say Yemen is the worst humanitarian crisis in the world, then it will be a really big crisis in the world with COVID-19, much, much more than before, because, you know, we have nothing to face it. Also, even though if we say, you stay in curfew or in your houses, and then things may solve, but you can't do this in Yemen, because people, if they stay in their house, there are people who rely on the daily income, their daily income. So a guy who sells the fruit in the streets, for example, if he stopped working, then he doesn't have money, and then he would prefer to die from COVID-19 than to stop working or feeding their family. So people are dying. There are so many. There are big numbers of IDVs. There are big numbers of famine. Yemen is it's a really big catastrophe and crisis. Please, please, please try to solve something and do something to stop this chaos.
Ahmad, we are so pleased to have you. You are a free Yemeni voice. What message do you have to the world on behalf of the Yemeni people?
Well, for the Yemeni message to the world, I want to say, first of all, Yemeni people from around the country need to put their problems and differences aside and focus on the efforts of fighting the virus, treating all Yemeni people, regardless of anyone's affiliation. Our message to the world is, please help us. And Yemeni people, they have the right to live in peace. They have the right to have their basic needs. They have to live like any country all around the world. And we need from the international world the real steps that can do pressure into political parties that they should come back to the table and do something. The international world should talk in behalf of the Yemeni civilians. We are not with any power. We are with the power that can give us our rights, with the power that can lead us to a bright future. So we are Yemenis, and we have the right to live like others.
To end on the positive note, Ahmed, I would like you to tell us in like few sentences, how would you describe or identify the sources of resistance and resilience of the Yemeni people? What inspires them? What inspires them to keep on going?
Yes, Yemeni people are very strong. You can see the resilience in streets. If you meet Yemeni people in cafe outside, or you hear them, they're still very optimistic. They say, okay, maybe it will be fine, and we will have a bright future. Yemeni people are very strong. You can't imagine how they are very strong, Yara. Now, for 2 years, they don't have salaries, and they leave, and they try to survive. Now they found the different alternatives, such as solar panels for electricity. They know how to get their own water. They know how to live and cope up with the situation. But Yemeni people, they don't deserve all of this. They deserve a good leadership that can take them to a bright future for sure, and that will be uh, their representative in the international world. Yemeni people, as we say, they have the right to leave. They have the right to have their income. They have the right to enjoy this life. They really suffer a lot in the last past 5 years, but we hope that things will be all right, and we will try to build a new Yemen.
Ahmed, I would like to thank you so much for taking the time to tell us the story of Yemen through your perspective, and also wearing the traditional Yemeni outfit costume make us like see how much you love this country, you love your country, you want the world to hear the story of your people. We tried with you to put Yemen today on the map and not only MENA. It was a great honor having you, and here from our studios in Beirut, we would like to send you all our support and admiration for you and for the people that you are speaking for. Thank you so much for this interview.
Thank you, and a message of solidarity with all the Yemeni people suffering, and we hope that the world listens and hears your call of life. All what you need and all what you are asking for is a very simple life, and we join our voices with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it for this great opportunity. As you said, Yara, Yemen is in the MENA map. We want to show people how Yemen, it's a very nice country. There is a negative side and a positive side of the war. The negative side is that there is a war and it kills people and that, but the positive side that people understand the situation and they are together and they try to cope with this situation. Thank you so much. We are very happy and we are very glad to be part of MENA, and thank you so much for highlighting Yemen story, because no one is covering this story nowadays in Yemen for so many conditions and the difficulties to enter the country. But being in your program and share the story from Yemen is very important. Thank you so much, and thank you to the people who watch your video. And we hope that we, the world, we comes together to delete any injustice in the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ahmed. Have a good day.